My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and beer.
Years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Hey, community policing, right? What about community dispatch?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here at Let's Talk Dispatch with me, the Raspy Dispatcher. My guest today is the creator of a nonprofit that is focused on women in public safety who want to learn from one another and inspire one another. You know, she believes that when women in 911 find their voice, they find their power. So I'm bringing you my guest today, Sara Weston, the 911 Wonder Woman herself. Hi, Sara.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going well. You know, it's so funny when I meet with folks who I see all the time and interact with all the time on the social medias, and then it's like half the time we really don't have a personal relationship in the real or virtual world past our DMs. So it's always really interesting. Like, I feel like I know you, but I don't know you, you know?
That is a thing now.
Mhm.
I think coming out of COVID, when we were all, you know, there were no conferences, there was no like getting out, and the interaction on social media was picking up. That's kind of when the 911 Wonder Woman Facebook group exploded. And everyone felt like they knew each other from it. And like the first time we were back at a conference, like seeing all these people that I've never met before, but were like my really good friends, and like seeing everyone hug each other. And it was just like very strange. It was
my gosh.
a whole new thing, which, you know, continues, which is awesome. You know, we can find our people easier.
No, it's so true. And I remember talking with some folks who've been in the 911 world for a long period of time, and earlier in their career, they'd be like, there was just no one I could connect with who gets it, right? Like, there's no way to access people now. We just pop open our phone, our tablet, our laptop, you know, and we can access worlds where people understand and get it in spaces like your Facebook page, your Instagram page. Like, they're all folks who understand the world of 911.
Yes, that is so funny that you said that, because that is the exact reason I started 911 Wonder Woman. Like that exact thing, to connect people who felt alone, or, you know, like they were just, everyone's in their little centers. Most centers are small, right? Everyone's in their little centers and with the same people every day. And encountering these situations where they're like, I don't know what to do. And not knowing that there's places all around the country that are encountering the same thing and have a way to help and assist. And, you know, this was like 2019, and there weren't a ton of Facebook groups back then. It's kind of hard to imagine. I think COVID kind of paved the way for that a little bit more as well. But yeah, that's exactly, you know, I wanted the awesome people that I knew to meet each other. So
that's awesome. So how did you get into the public safety realm? Like, what's your story with 911 Wonder Woman? How did this all come about for you?
So my story starts back in college. Actually, I was an IT major, and this was back in the early 2000s. Stop doing that math.
Never do with numbers, so
okay, good. This was back in the early 2000s, and I graduated in 2005. So being one of maybe 6 or 7 women in my entire major, and I went to a big school. I went to Penn State. It was a huge university. And it was just, that was kind of my first instance of, why am I one of so few women, and why am I being treated like the girl in all of my working groups? And, you know, why are they telling me to take the notes? And, you know, why am I not doing the programming? It was just like slowly but surely, I was like, oh, I don't think I belong here. So when I graduated, it's so funny. I have this book. I got it out. When I graduated college, my professor gave all the women this book. It said, Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office 101.
Okay. Okay.
The job market I was graduating into.
Right. They were like, this is an appropriate gift. This is where.
Yeah, like it's so funny. Like the stuff that's in here is crazy. And this book was actually copyrighted in 2004. So this is from this century.
Yeah.
And just like things to watch out for. It's so funny, like avoiding office politics, holding your tongue, failing to capitalize on relationships, viewing men in authority as father figures. Like it's like on and on and on.
Oh my gosh.
Ways that we sabotage ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Just very, very interesting. And back then, I didn't get it. I was like, this isn't the 60s. It's fine. No, fine. So my first job was with a public safety technology consulting firm.
Okay.
So my job at first was doing like radio propagation studies and like microwave link analysis for like public safety communications. And the only woman, the only one of like 3 young people, out of college, because it's a consulting firm, right? So I just really struggled a lot. Like I didn't understand how to dress, how to talk, what not to say. Like, me, I'm out there and I'm like, hi guys. And, people didn't want that. People wanted to just sit in their cubicles and get their work done and go home.
Yeah.
Right? So I did, even though like I really liked the job and I loved everything, I couldn't. I saw people getting promoted, before me. I was getting told certain things because I was a woman. And I was like, you know what? This is it. Like, this is how women get treated. And I'm a woman and this is how it's going to be. And I either stay here and stick with it or I move on to something else. Like any other profession doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
So eventually I got moved into the Next Gen 911 group.
Okay.
Like the very, very early days of Next Gen. And I got to go into 911 centers. Like finally I got to like leave the office and go into 911 centers. And lo and behold, women were there.
Women in 911 no.
Yes. I got to meet strong, smart leaders who were women and were willing to sit down with me and have lunch with me and talk to me and help teach me and, not judge me if, I'm young and I'm still learning, along with everyone else. Because when you're in a consulting role, everyone thinks you know exactly what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Everyone has something to learn. Everyone does. Yeah. So that was kind of a turning point for me, is getting out of the office, getting out of my space and meeting people who could mentor me professionally and personally and technology wise. It was just like this aha moment for me. That, and we hired another young woman finally who I could relate to and work with, and her name was Wendy. She became my very, very best friend. We did everything together, and she was a very strong female force. She was always the one to say, Sarah, no, they cannot tap your ass when they walk by you. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I cannot tell you that, you look really hot in that shirt in the office. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really? Like, just things that I just was like, I have to deal with this because I am who I am. So that was my experience very, very early on. And then, when Wendy came around and I started meeting more and more women leaders, it just occurred to me that it doesn't have to be this hard. I didn't want people to struggle like I did. It kind of became my thing, like the thing that I was here to help, because I was now in a position like 10 or 12 years into my career where I felt safe enough in what I was doing that I could take this on. I could help other people. So I didn't really know how to do that, right? I was like, well, what do we do? I felt very small. Wendy was working on this with me. Like, we're two people. What do we do? So we talked to Nina, and Nina invited us to come and do a session at the national conference. It was called Empowering the Wonder Women of 911. And, we were working on this, and we were like, well, why don't we start this Facebook group, and we can invite all of the awesome women in 911 leaders that we know through being a consultant and traveling the country, and all of the incredible dispatchers that we know that we've met from traveling the country. We can all be in the space together, and let's see what happens. So this was in 2019. We were going to launch the Facebook group at the conference, and then unfortunately, Wendy got cancer, and she passed away in April before we were going to present in June. So this was 2 months, right? And I think what happened, like at first I was like, never mind.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, it's too deep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. At first I was like, I didn't want anything to do with 911 anymore, because I didn't want to do it without her.
Yeah.
Especially this, because I felt like she was the feminist, and she taught me everything I knew, and she lifted me up. So like, I couldn't do it without her. But then, I got the feeling that I was supposed to carry on her legacy, and no one was going to learn from her ever again, right? So I needed to keep going. So long story short, launched the Facebook group. It just exploded. We had 1,000 women in 1 week.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Kind of. And then I started panicking.
You're like, wait. Stop looking at it. It's not ready. It's not ready.
And that's such a lesson. Like, do it before you're ready.
Yes. Do the thing. Do the thing, for sure.
Yeah. You'll learn.
That's the truth.
You can do this. And, it wasn't perfect. I was bad at it at first. I still have a ton to learn. But, at some point, I just had to be like, who cares? Who cares if it's bad? I started doing live. If you were to go back into the Facebook group and look at my first live videos.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm Sara, and I'm here to tell you, and like,
see, that's funny, because someone I interviewed with yesterday, I was telling them, they're like, you did such a great job, like, getting us through the interview. I'm like, girl, have you seen my first live? I would imagine, like, going back to my first one that I did, it's like, to now, I mean, you just kind of learn, like, as you go and as you fumble through it, and you just kind of stop caring about the when you mess up stuff, like, it's okay. I get it right most of the time,
You have to be bad at something to be good at something.
True.
You have to. You have to start somewhere.
It's so true. And you have to be bad at something in front of people to inspire them to be bad at something. And then eventually we're all going to be really good at it.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. You have to have the courage to like step out there and take that leap of faith and believe in yourself. It's hard. I think especially as women, it's hard to believe in ourselves. That's the way kind of we're brought up, and we have a place that we're supposed to be. And like, you never tell men they're supposed to be in any place. Like,
it's wild.
Women in their is like a thing.
And it's funny because like my fiance has a friend who's an architect, and she was telling me about her experience at a big school in this architect program where she was basically going to school for architect, and the professor was like, you can't take the class. and sent her an email like, you can't take the class because they didn't want girls in the class. And like she showed up on the class day and they made like this big scene in the class. Like, I emailed you that you shouldn't be here and this and that. And she was like, I have the approval that I'm qualified to be in this class. And they were just like, no, raise your hand if you don't want girls in the class. Like this whole thing. And I am like fuming inside. And she's like graduated, got her degree, building skyscrapers, you know, like doing the thing. Like, and I'm just like, we need to go back to college, sit in this class. We need to go enroll. We need to re-enroll, take a class, you know, like it's still, and like she's a recent grad. They probably graduated, but that was their undergrad. So within the last 7-8 years.
Oh,
and I mean, that's still a thing in these fields, IT, architect, things that are predominantly, I mean, law enforcement, public safety, it's all a predominantly male ran business. And this is just it's a reality, you know, it's a reality that we as women in these places with loud voices and big personalities are aware still happen, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't aware that it still happens, which is another reason why I felt like this organization really caught on fire, because we don't tell those stories, right? We don't usually go out and be like, oh, I went to a business meeting and there were no chairs available, so the gentleman offered me his lap. Which has happened to me.
Oh my God.
In front of everybody. And you know, the at the time everyone's laughing, you know, I probably kind of laughed it off. I just said no and walked away. That's all that I could like come out of my mouth at the time. But it really like eats at you.
Yeah.
Why didn't I say something? And like it just like subconsciously even maybe like just takes a little chip out of your confidence every time something like that happens. Like you're told you can't be in a class.
Yeah. Wild. Where everyone's learning. Like, you know?
Yeah. And like I've heard my friends say things like, oh, I'm so glad there's no women in my office. I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
Right?
Why? Like, oh, because then I wouldn't be able to say A, B, and C. I'm like, well, if you're not supposed to say that in front of a woman, maybe you shouldn't be saying it at all. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, I get that all the time. You know, we have 13,000 women in the group now, and I still have people, men and women, saying, why is this needed? Why is this needed? Women aren't the minority. Why is this needed? And I think it's pretty obvious to people who have been through those types of experiences. And it's because people don't know it's needed because people don't talk about these things.
Yeah, it's true.
Very true. When we say, when you find your voice, you find your power, that's what I mean. Like when you can speak up and share your story, it empowers you. It takes away their power, right? Like when I tell the story of the guy offering me his lap, I'm like, yeah, you suck.
Yeah, big time.
Now, you know, and it's I find that all the time. I get messages all the time with those types of things that happen that people just aren't aware of. So, I mean, that's part of it, bringing that to light. And, you know, just looking around, like you said, public safety is predominantly male, but dispatch is not. It's 70-some% female. And I listened to the podcast you did with Jim Marshall, and he was talking about somebody saying that dispatch is, quote, women's work. And I like physically like got up out of my seat. What does that mean? What is women's work? Like literally women's work is any work that a woman does. Like that's women's work. So that's what's happening out there. And if you think it's not affecting you in some way, you are wrong. You just don't realize it. So, I don't go out there and usually talk quite so blunt about this kind of stuff. I do believe there's a way to take steps forward, and it's not by being combative.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
by meeting people where they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, once we hit a certain number of people in the group, I started doing some more speaking at conferences. And a lot of people are like, I hate social media. I'm not going on social media. How do I be a part of this? So that led to creating a website because, like, you may not be on social media, but you can use the web and we can share tools that way. And then that led to me wanting to do something more. And that's how that nonprofit idea came to me. And Lord, talk about doing things you don't know. Like, I literally Googled how to start a nonprofit.
Facts. I'm still Googling half the things that I'm doing. Like,
I have a book back there on my shelf that's Nonprofit for Dummies. I still reference it.
Heck yeah.
And I'm not a business major. I thought a nonprofit would be easier than starting a business. Like, that's literally why I started, which is completely backwards. But I didn't know. Oh, the IRS.
No, seriously.
But that's another example, is like, I just believed there would be people to help me. And there were beautiful, amazing people, men and women, both, who kind of adopted me and helped me in certain ways. And I think that would probably be, you may agree or disagree with this, but I think, like, the number one way to get things done is being resourceful and knowing who to go to with your questions.
Yes. And it's funny because that's one of the things that, like, this past year, I've been like, okay, I'm going to start reaching out. I'm going to start connecting with folks. I'm going to do the podcast. I'm going to start creating these connections. And it's amazing how receptive people are to being able to dump whatever they know into your lap and be like, yeah, here, take it. Like, oh, you need someone like Ryan Dedman? I'll email Ryan. I'm like, hey, do you have a connection with this and that and that and this? And 2 days later, I'll get an email introducing Ashley. Ashley, meet so-and-so. Okay, my job's done. And I'm like, Ryan, thank you. Like, just so everyone in this space has just been so willing. You, Sarah, everyone has been so helpful and so willing to jump on and exchange the things they know and help me learn. I mean, it's been wonderful, and it's refreshing,
Yes, because not everyone is that way. And I think that's one of the problems in 911 as well, with the culture and the centers, is that people want to hoard information and they're like, well, it was hard for me, so I'm not going to make it easy for you. It has to be hard for you too.
Isn't that such a wild concept? Like, what's the old say? Like, oh, my parents had to walk uphill in snow. It's like, hey, I live in California. You want walking up in snow, but whatever. I digress. And and so you have to. And it's just like, why? Why do I? One of my big debates I had at my original agency. They were talking about, we had 4 channels and there was 2 districts on every channel, basically. They were talking about opening it up to like 6 channels. So each district had their own dispatcher. And so I was so for this idea because in my head, less traffic, less priorities, officer safety, you're more focused on one district rather than double the officers. And the OG dispatchers were just like, well, if they only work one channel like that, they're not going to know how to operate multiple priorities at a time. And I'm just like, yeah, because they don't have to do that anymore. We're taking that trauma away from them by, spreading out the love. And where I worked, I mean, you were going to get a priority every day. I mean, it's just one of those things. So why do we have to work harder just to prove that we can earn those stripes? Like, I just don't think it's necessary.
Because we've always done it that way.
Yeah, it's a wild concept to me. It's wild. I like easier.
Like, imagine if our parents were like, we didn't have the internet, so here's the encyclopedia. Like, no internet for anyone. We didn't have it.
Oh, and you had kids. Imagine telling your kid to look it up in the encyclopedia. They'd be like, why can't you just Google it? Like, what are we doing right now? What is happening?
We had like a phone. I was just on my first cruise last week, and you have those little cabins if you've ever been on a cruise, and there's like a little phone in there because we don't have cell service, so you can like call my in-laws were in a different room. My 4-year-old was like obsessed with this phone. Like, this isn't a phone. Like, how do you use this? Just like no inclination to like pick it up and like dial.
Gosh. That's hilarious. That's like one of my academy mates. They were making fun of her when we were going through academy because they mentioned a Rolodex, and a Rolodex. And then she was like 20. She hadn't even turned 21 yet, and they were like, "Do you even know what a Rolodex is?" And she was like, "A Rolodex? I don't know what that is." It's just like, oh man, we don't know what a Rolodex is. Okay, let's move on. We're not even going to talk about it.
I know, right? Like things change, and sometimes it's good. I know change being good is not a popular concept in 911, but we have to move forward and we have to grow. And that's another thing that I like to do with, when I speak and go to conferences is talk about these new technologies in a way that dispatchers can understand and like not be so anxious about the changes coming, maybe understand them a little bit more and how it's going to help them, and then go forth that way, because it is scary when you step out to do something new, but when you get informed, it's not so scary and you can make a better decision.
It's true. It's very true. I mean, that's half the battle with folks who are like, who reach out to me for like the critical stuff and they're going through the application process. And the most feedback, a large amount of the feedback that I receive is like, you ease my worries. Like I had nothing to worry about. You were right. It was very simple, and that's half the battle. When you go into something not knowing what the hell's going on or what to expect, you start worst case scenario, like it's just the worst, everything's heightened in your mind. But if you have been told, like, I mean, you're going to walk into the room, you're going to sit down, you're going to answer these questions, and there's going to be 6 people in front of you, and this is how you move through it, you're going to be able to go through that a lot easier than with no knowledge from a blank slate, right?
Yes, that is why mentorship is so, so crucial, especially for women who don't have a lot of like women in leadership to look up to like kind of mimic. And we're not always, raised in a way that you're going to be the leader, right? So having people say, you can do this and here's how, like step 1, step 2, step 3. Yes, they're scary, but you're not going to die.
Yes.
Oh, it's so useful. And, I think back to the 911 Wonder Woman group. I think that's a huge part of it too, is people saying to each other, oh, you got this. This is all you have to do.
Yeah.
And just like demystifying everything.
And just the range of things folks come on that page to even ask. I mean, it's just like, and someone always has an answer for it. You realize someone else has also experienced this thing, and you're like, I can't find it on Google. I don't know how to answer this question. No one else understands this. So you throw it in this group, and you're just like, hundreds of people are spitting answers back at you, and you're just like, oh my God, I am not crazy. This is not something that only I have experienced. There are answers out there. There are ways to navigate through the muck, and you've created this space where folks can help each other do that.
It's like 911 Google.
It is. And the best thing is, you can search in there too. If you don't want to ask, you're like, I just want, someone else has probably asked your question. Because sometimes on Google, like if I'm like, oh, it's that one song and it says the thing like this, and I'll write it like that, just like very like loose frame, and it'll answer me. And I'm like, see, someone else had said it in this roundabout way enough that Google's like, oh, we know what you're talking about. And it's the same thing in these groups, I could search it and someone else has asked my question. So I don't even have to put myself out there if I'm not ready to yet. I can just look at what else someone else has answered or asked.
They're like, we got you, girl. Exactly. All the time. It's funny. So obviously, because I've never been a dispatcher, I've never been in a dispatch group before, like on social media. And it's so funny, like the horror stories that I hear of some of these groups. And the things that I think I'm very most proud of in terms of social media is when a new dispatcher or someone who's new to the profession asks for advice, not one person says run. I've never in this group told someone to run or walk away. And
That's true, yeah.
I think that's a normal response in some of the other groups.
It really is. And it's quite surprising, especially with our staffing. I'll need to start telling these people to run now.
Yes.
We need these people. But it does speak to, like we're talking about, in our the culture that's happening in our centers, and the fact that a lot of our centers are women ran. We hold the positions on the floor. We typically tend to hold the positions in the supervisory roles. Depending on how your center's set up, you could have captains or lieutenants or things like that who may not be women, but could be women as well. If we are women ran and it's a women high number of women in the role, why are we creating those environments where we're telling each other to run?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what's the root of that?
It's how it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
It's the culture. It's that like paramilitary, like police, fire
Mm-hmm.
culture where they try to weed out the weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way most of the people in the centers have learned to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see that changing now. People are calling that out. People are using their voice. People are saying, wait, there's another way of doing this. And I think, the staffing shortage has really shown a light on what is the problem? What is going on here? And that's unfortunate that it's happening, but I do definitely see a shift, like in the past 5 years, a huge shift into wellness and leadership and resiliency. And no one ever talked about that like 5 years ago, ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a couple of people did, Sorry about that. But, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So I think changes are being made, and I think it's like the perfect time to take this on. And I think 911 Wonder Woman is a situation where we don't feel alone. We feel like, we have a crew, we have people behind us. We're not standing there alone, fighting whatever battle it may be. And it's not always a gender thing. Sometimes it's just like, I feel like I'm not being treated properly, or I don't have the resources I need. I don't have the training I need. All of that. They now have people, we all have people surrounding us that will fight with us. And I think that is just huge, because it's hard. It's hard to be one person and feel like you're one person, that you can make a difference. But it's, it's this whole concept of ripples and the ripple effect that you can have by speaking up one time, or asking someone if they feel the same way as you, or encouraging somebody else. So I think we're starting to see proof in that pudding. So people are starting to buy into it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And, I've been doing this for about 5 years, and I would say that my introduction into public safety, they did a really good job. My department did a really good job at emphasizing, the peer support, the mental health, the how do we cope with these things? How do we support one another? How does that look like? And I do agree that it's probably been something that's new in the last 5 years that I've been working, because I have these conversations with folks in the centers and who've been doing this a long time, and they do echo that type of old way of thinking, like that call wasn't that bad, or, like, I don't know why, Officer Jim upset you with what he said, like, he's just joking around, and, things like that, are still happening. But I do agree that there is a strong shift, I think, in public safety in general, where we're just in this really, really new space where we're really having to be transparent and reflective of what we have been doing and what needs to happen to improve public safety for the future, right?
Yes. It's very encouraging. I mean, who knows what will be here now in like the next 5 years. But the things we do now are gonna influence that, right? So the ripples we make now will have the effects 5 years from now. And even though it's hard and we're really feeling the pinch now, especially with the shortages and the overtime, and a lot of places they're not making the money that they should be making, and the reclassification efforts across the country, and it feels like we're always fighting. But if we don't, nothing's going to happen. So I think, for me, that's what our nonprofit is trying to do, is to support those efforts and support the people who feel like they're always battling, give them a platform, amplify their voice, help them find their voice, and support them in any way that we can, providing the training that perhaps agencies can't afford. And when agencies are understaffed, you can't send people to training. So this year we're doing traveling. We're traveling and we're taking the training to centers and providing it, at whatever, either free or low cost or whatever we can do, just little by little, to make that difference and to influence others to do the same. There's been a couple other nonprofits that have popped up in the past couple of years for 911, and I'm just like, yes, because how many nonprofits do like police and fire and EMS have that are providing services? Like you couldn't count them, right? And I know there's been a couple in 911, and now there's more and more. And I think if I can support them as well. Because when I first got started, the folks from Denise Amber Lee Foundation were huge in just helping me understand what I was taking on and helping me. So, I want to pay that forward as well. And, just get people who can help to help. And, we all need that sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it has been fun, excuse me, watching social media and Facebook and like all of these people like creating their own the Raspy Dispatcher, Help for the Headset, like all these like folks who are looking out into the world and going, like I want to contribute. Like this is my thing that I find joy in, and I want to bestow it on somebody else. And it's amazing, like watching all of these different folks pop up in the world and start trying to pour into 911 dispatchers, right?
Yes, it is such a passion-filled profession. And I think before we were kind of stuck, like, okay, maybe I have a passion for this, but I don't know how to go forth and pursue it. Or, that's stupid and silly and I'm just going to ignore it because nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? I think we do that a lot. Like, I want to do this, but nobody cares. So I think, we're showing that people do care, and you have something to offer. I always say, like, what is the thing that makes you really mad? What is the thing that you like cannot stand?
Well, don't ask my fiance that. She might give an answer.
When my partner chews really loud, right? Nonprofit against loud chewers.
Start the nonprofit for non-chew Facebook page. I think that would probably blow up, though. Let's be honest. I think we're on to something here. See how that works?
The Partners of Loud Chewers.
Yeah.
PLC. We're here first.
Slow clap, everybody. I think we got a winner here.
But it's true. If you have the heart and you have the dedication, you can make a difference. And I know a lot of like certifications now, like RPL, you have to do a service project, and I love that. Like that's brilliant, and that's getting people thinking and filling gaps and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and the reality is, like, once you do it the first time, right? Like, once you create the thing, whatever the thing is, it's just doing it over and over again, right? You did the hard part. If you're putting together an expo, if you're starting a nonprofit, like now you know how to do it. If you wanted to go start the nonprofit for Partners of Loud Chewers, like you already have the book. Like you're there, Exactly. It's already, the roadmap has already been done. So like it's it's awesome to create something because you can just do it over and over again on a yearly basis, like the 5K run you got going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you're so right. So we're in year 3. This is our 3rd year. So December of 2020 is when we officially became a 501c3 nonprofit. So year 1 was, how do we get money? Year 2 was, what programming are we going to offer? And now year 3 is like, we have funding, we have programs, and it's about execution. So I didn't know any of that when I started. I just was throwing everything at the wall, and everyone has ideas, right? And these they're brilliant ideas, and they're so needed. I want to do all the ideas, all of your ideas. Executing those ideas is freaking hard.
Yeah.
It's very time consuming. It takes a lot of resources. So back to the 5K, what can we do that isn't so freaking hard? I guess it's like my motto, right?
Yeah.
So year 1, it was still COVID-y out there. I think that's a word, COVID-y.
I like it. I think if it's not, it is now.
Yeah, it's still super COVID-y in 2021. So I got this idea from, I saw a Wonder Woman virtual 5K that not Marvel. Is it Marvel? I always get yelled at. DC, whatever it is.
I won't be yelling at you because I don't know the difference. So
don't at me.
Fans out there who are yelling at us, we're sorry.
Whatever universe Wonder Woman lives in, they were having one of these, and some people in the Facebook group were like, "Let's do this." And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then I was like, "Wait a second, let's do our own."
Yeah.
So a woman named Tracy, gosh, Tracy, I'm so sorry, I forget your last name. I'm terrible. Was like, "Hey, yeah, you can totally do this, and here's how." So again, not knowing what I was doing, I was like, okay, we need t-shirts,
Yeah,
race bibs, and we need a way to register. So we used Eventbrite. And so basically a virtual 5K is exactly what it sounds like. You register, and we make 4 days is like race weekend, because dispatching and shift work, right? We can't make it one day because everyone their heads will explode.
Exactly.
I learned. I work that day.
Can you imagine trying to get time off for a virtual 5K? They're like, sit your ass down back at your seat, put your headset on, just walk around the comm center. I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the things I learned super early on in the Facebook group is don't say have a good weekend, because it's not everyone's weekend.
Real sensitive. I'd be like, happy Friday. Well, it's my Friday. I'm sorry. Whatever day of the week it is for you guys.
Yes. So anyway, 4 days. So this year it is the 4 days leading up to National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So April 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, which is Thursday through Sunday. So the premise is, over these 4 days, you can walk, run, roll, crawl, burpee, whatever it is. 5K, 3.2 miles. So you can do it all in one day. You can split it up over the 4 days. You could do it around your center, with your watch. You can do it on your desk treadmill or your desk bike during your shift. Whatever it is, the idea is just to move, because it's so good for you mentally, physically. We develop a sense of community because we're all doing this together all around the world now. We have people all over different countries who register. We're doing this together. We have really cool swag. We have 6 different options for t-shirts, 3 colors, short sleeve and long sleeve. We have race bibs. We have a Couch to 5K program that's going to start next week. It's an 8-week Couch to 5K to take you all the way, which is going to be so cool. People don't know what to do, if you've never done it before. And the first year we had over 800 people that registered and did this together. And basically during I call it race weekend. It's not really a race, but run weekend. You just take selfies in your shirt and we post them on social media, and it kind of floods social media with this awesome message of like, we are 911 and we're doing this for ourselves, for people in our center, for, all proceeds benefit our nonprofit that then, gets poured back into the community. So it's just like a win, 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 win. It's super easy. You just register and then we send you the race packet and you get it and you get up and you go. And people have been doing meetups in different cities last year, and people have been getting their whole center to register. Partners. So last year, Rapid SOS had all of their folks in their company register and do it. Same with MCP, same with Hexagon. They, had their employees actually do another fundraiser for the race. So it's just something that I didn't know if people would want to do it or not. And it's grown and it's become this really cool thing. So we're in year 3 now. Registration is open. If you register, I'm not sure when this will air. If you register by March 6th, you're guaranteed to get all of your swag before the race.
Okay.
But we have to cut it off there and order the shirts in order to have them. So then, but if you register after, you're guaranteed to get all of your swag. It'll just come a little bit later.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I'm gonna rip this up a little bit and post a clip of it anyways. So even if it'll be out there before it airs, so we can get some more folks registered, because I'm registered. I will be participating this year, so I'm super excited. One of my New Year's goals is to be more healthy in the comm center and in my personal life. So when I saw the virtual K was coming back around, I was like, oh, I should definitely jump on this train and join in on this so I can, because you know me, I love a good shirt and swag and stickers and all that. So I was like, I gotta get one of these shirts and participate, because it is true. I mean, like 5 years in a comm center in this field, in this sitting in the chairs, and I mean, it's hard, you can't walk away from the computer. Your schedule's all funky because of shift work, and it's just a way to create a supportive community that is encouraging folks to get moving again. And it doesn't mean you got to go run a mile at 6 minutes, and it's like you just, like you said, walk, crawl. You burpee. I'm not doing a burpee. I hate burpees. I'm not gonna lie to you. As a former athlete, I think we should ban burpees. They are the worst thing in the world, in my opinion. I had a coach, my JV coach in high school. His name was Harper, and his nickname was Harpstyle, and he would call them harpies instead of burpees. So that was his favorite. Hated him. So I will not. You can't pay me to do a burpee.
It's bad. I feel you. I was a gymnast, and like we would have to do them like all the way around the gym. Like, yeah, it's bad. Some people like them.
Yeah, I know. And I want you guys to know I'm judging you. If you come up to me like, I listen to your I like burpees, I'm creating a group to talk about the people who like burpees, because
burpee lovers.
Burpee lovers. Nah, terrible.
But like, that's the thing. It's people think that like fitness is like, I have to go do 100 burpees and run and go to the gym every day. And it's so not true. Like, you get the benefits of being active after 10 minutes. So I just like to tell people, like, go walk for 5 minutes. If you don't feel it, like, come back. But odds are you're going to be like, oh, this feels kind of good.
Yeah, it is true, because like I've told people before, it's like I used to play basketball in college. We used to work out like 4 times a day, like just wild workouts. And like in my mind, as I'm getting older and I'm not, like, my job is not to play basketball and go to school anymore. Like, I have other things happening in my world. But my mindset never shifted in regards to like what it looks like to be working out or be athletic, or so when I couldn't do the 100 burpees, or I wasn't doing the 10 workouts a day, like it felt like I was not being active, which
Right.
isn't true, you know? So now in my head, and I'm learning to reprogram that part of my mental, is like, as long as I'm showing up for that hour, whatever that hour looks like, right? Is I go to the gym now before work and I run a mile. And when I mean run, I mean sometimes it's a jog, sometimes it's a walk, sometimes, some days I'm like, yeah, I'm getting it, and then some days I'm like, oh, I'm not getting it today. But I still hit the mile, like regardless, whether it takes me 10 minutes or 20, I still get that mile in and I do a lift. And that's it. That's my level that I'm comfortable with now. And for someone else, it just might be walking for their 15 minutes on their break or whatever. And that is awesome. If that is the thing for you, even if it's a burpee, we just want you folks to do the thing, like whatever the thing is for you. It does not have to be extensive, I promise. As a recovering athlete, you do not have to do all the nonsense. You can just do the thing that you feel is making you be somewhat active. It's life-changing, really.
It is. You're right. It's that mind shift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Be kind to yourself. Find something that you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something out there that you don't hate. At least that you don't hate. That you don't dread. There's something out there that you won't dread doing.
True. I did have a trainer, and she was a runner. She'd get out there and she'd run like 5 miles on her lunch break. And I'm like, honey, you got me for like 2, which means 1 out. And I have to do the second one because I got to come back. Like it's not, I don't want to do 2 out, 2 back. It's like 1, come home. Like that's all you got me for. Like she's like, I'll run to this mile mark. She's like, I'm gonna keep going. Like, all right, I'll be stretching back there. You take your time. I'll be back there. Don't worry about it. Oh my God, so funny. So what are the ways for the folks who aren't familiar with your Facebook group, your Instagram, like what are the ways that they can connect with 911 Wonder Woman and find out all the awesome stuff that you guys got going on?
Yes. So we have a private Facebook group, and that is for women in public safety only. That you have to ask to join, and then it just asks you like 3 questions that are really easy and simple. Just answer them, please, because it makes everything easier for us. So we have the private group, and then we have a public page on Facebook, which just is giving news about the nonprofit, is celebrating people, what have you. People ask for information, and we share it there. We also have a LinkedIn, which is usually just all nonprofit, like business and events that we have going, and trainings and speaking engagements that we do. And then we're on Instagram. So as you know, my Instagram is a little more personal. Like I share a little more of my personal life on Instagram, which I don't know, if you're not into it, just don't follow me.
Hey, look, speaking of, we got to have some spaces for us as well. So I'm all for it.
So they're all at 911derwomen. You can find us on all the things. Our website is 911derwomen.com. And then we do a monthly panel discussion. We call them Empower Panels. And they're available for registration. Like we'll post them. You can register for them on Crowdcast. But once we do them, we post them on our YouTube channel. We can go and watch all of these panels. And also, just recently, we had, I have a brilliant marketing committee who took the videos on YouTube and converted them into podcast format, which I know nothing about. So now there's a Empower Panel podcast out there on some of the things.
We love a good podcast here at Let's Talk Dispatch, so that's amazing.
Yeah, they're really cool. The whole idea behind that is talking about a topic that we don't talk about enough. We've done setting boundaries. We've done, look, now I'm drawing a blank. Finding joy, having chronic illness, chronic pain while dispatching. Lots of stuff. Next month, we're going to talk about certifications and why you get them. So anyway, we bring women together from all different parts of the country. We have diversity of perspective, different parts of their career, and we just kind of chat.
Awesome.
So there's something for everyone on there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll include all the links and the information for folks in the information section of this episode on all of our channels. So you could just click it, head over, connect with Sara and 911 Wonder Woman and see how where you want to be in that community, you know, how you want to participate. Because it is really fun watching and, you know, learning from all the things that you got going on and the things you're putting out there, and the virtual ways we can connect as dispatchers is empowering. And we can just learn so much from each other. It's just awesome that we're creating these spaces, and I would say you're a leader in that creation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just love your saying the world needs more dispatchers. I think like that's a concept that is empowering to the folks that are dispatchers, because it's something you should be proud of. You know, we should throw that phrase away. Oh, I'm just a dispatcher. I hate that, and I haven't been hearing it as much lately, which is awesome. But also, you know, that attitude, I think, you know, as we're recruiting and as we're not eating our young, you know, I think that is something that should be like on every 911 center. Like your stickers are amazing. I think that's just a concept that we all need to embrace and keep in mind as we go forth.
Thank you. No, it's so true. I mean, one of the big hurdles that I had coming into this line of work, as I got my degrees in administration of justice, is just the lack of conversation surrounding the dispatch centers and the importance of dispatch. And then I get into dispatch and I'm like, why do we have no staff? So no one's talking about it. No one even realizes there's jobs out there to apply for, you know? And so it's just wonderful getting into these spaces and creating, you know, the Rouse Dispatcher and Let's Talk Dispatch, and meeting 911 Wonder Woman and seeing all the things that you're creating, and how to even within the trenches and all these spaces where people are just doing wonderful things and really empowering dispatchers. And like I interviewed with someone, they're like, historically dispatch is not considered sexy. I'm like, yes, we are, you know, like we're in this place where there's, you know, the firefighters have the fire trucks and, you know, the police have the cars, and dispatch isn't historically considered that. I'm like, you're right. We need to change that. We need the swag, we need the things, you know? So I definitely think we're getting there. We're getting to a point where we're being seen more than we have been in the past.
Yes.
All right. So as we close it up now, I know that you have not been a dispatcher, but I would say that you've talked to, experienced, and been around enough dispatchers that you can still provide some feedback to this question, which is, what advice would you give someone considering a career in dispatch?
Where do I start? So I think there's so much, but right now what I'm feeling is bring yourself. Like, do not abandon yourself. Like, it is a very challenging job. It's very stressful. There's going to be a lot of training, but you yourself as a person bring your experience, your light, your energy, your ideas. And we need that in 911. We don't need you to conform to the attitudes that you see. Be yourself. Stay strong. Stay inspired. Don't let the job beat that out of you.
Awesome. Sara, again, thank you so much for being willing to jump on and meet with me and share your story, because I didn't know it. I just made a lot of assumptions following you on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. So I'm really happy that I got to hear the backstory, and, you know, Wendy being such a big part of creating this with you. I'm really grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so great talking to you.
Awesome. I'll be right back with you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Dispatch. 911derwomen, an amazing resource. Again, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a podcast, their website. It's all going to be included in the information section of this episode. So definitely make sure to reach out and connect with Sara, and more importantly, all the folks that she has brought together to support each other. Until next time, everybody, like, subscribe, tell a friend, stay raspy. Thanks for joining us here on Let's Talk Dispatch. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Consider joining our Patreon for exclusive content, early access to episodes, and discounts on merch at theraspydispatcher.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of these things help support the creation of more content, because the world needs more dispatchers. Thank you all again for the love and continued support, and until next time, stay raspy.